Have you ever noticed a situation like this? When you're funny is when you're relaxed, but also when the pressure shows up, it feels like someone unplugs that. You used to be effortlessly funny, but then when things get a little tense, it just disappears. Something along the lines like somebody getting offended or someone getting angry or someone being rude. Suddenly you're serious, you're stiff, you're quiet, and you can't find the confidence or the courage to say what's on your mind anymore. And these moments, they make you think like, what the hell just happened to me? You didn't lose your sense of humor. Something outside of you forced you to push it away. What's up? I'm Manny Garavito. I'm a comedy coach, and I help people just like you who are smart, capable, socially aware, and funny until it actually matters. Humor doesn't disappear under pressure. It shuts down when you tense up. In this video, we're going to see how to relax into the funny instead of scaring it away, especially when those tense moments come up. I'm going to walk you through 3 simple concepts. No therapy here, no spiritual lecture, just stuff you already do when things go right, explained a little more clearly. I also made a couple of presentations here so that you can get the idea a bit better. So in this video, I'm going to show you these ideas in a more visual way to add a little more context. I'm going to show you the gears, the flexibility, and the pause before making the leap. Because once you see how this works, you stop trying to be funny and you start letting it show you naturally. Let's get into it. So the first concept I'd like to go over is what I like to call switching gears. If you look at your sense of humor like the transmission of a car, you can't stay stuck in one gear while you're trying to be humorous. You won't be able to adapt to every situation, every person, every tense moment. When you see the pressure going up or down, shift gears. Know when it's time to listen, know when it's time to notice, and then also you got to know when you got to ramp it up. Think of it like switching between going slow with your thinking and then speeding it up when you see the opportunity of being funny. And so when you're in a certain gear where you start listening, noticing, and paying attention to what's happening in the present, you slow it down a little bit. When you slow it down, you use a lower gear and you start paying attention to what's happening. You don't necessarily have to say anything funny. You just have to notice what is actually happening, being present, being anchored to the situation, listening, being aware. Then when you see the opportunity, if you're relaxed, if you're playful, if you're present, you can then find the opportunities to start switching gears and start ramping it up. Then you can start giving your response, you can start playing along, and you can start expressing yourself because you see these situations arising by being in the low gear in the first place. However, sometimes you can be in a high gear that allows you to miss out on what is actually happening in the present. You have to go back into low gear to then anchor yourself to the situation in order to find the next opportunity to play along and express yourself. So you don't need to think faster or slower. You just need to know how to shift smoother when the situation calls for it. On the second concept, I want you to think of your humorous mind between being elastic and rigid. When you're elastic, that is when you see the situation as something you can adapt to, something you can evolve with, or something that you can play along with. When you're rigid, picture it like you going on tilt. Something happens that sets you off, you're not centered, and you put yourself in a position that you can easily break or lose the funny altogether. When that pressure starts getting applied to you, the more elastic you are, the more playful you are, the more in the moment you are, the more you can bend and stretch to it without snapping. You shape yourself into the situation and you approach it in a more softer way. However, when things get really serious and you can feel yourself getting rigid, meaning the emotions made you stick to one mindset, and it's not a mindset that helps you play along, you tighten up, and then that pressure starts breaking down the fun you could have been having. Picture it like a spring or a rubber band. When the pressure applies, you can move along with it. However, if you stiffen up, you go on tilt, you let the bad emotions take over, you kind of become like glass or hardened clay, easy to break with pressure. When things get heavy, soften instead of tighten. See what's going on, notice the absurdity, and have fun with it. So in this next concept, we're going to explore what position to be in order for that playfulness to naturally occur. How will you know when you've got to shift gears? How would you know when you got to go up in the gear, down a gear? How would you know when you got to be elastic when a serious situation shows up? You have to poise yourself for the playfulness or the performance. And what I mean by poising is you are in a neutral position. You let things happen. You're in the present and you're aware. You don't worry about where you're going next. You don't worry about what happened before. You are in the here and now, totally neutral, willing to go in any direction the moment takes you. When you're present, you can then poise yourself to have some fun when the opportunity arises. Now, don't get in your way here. Don't leap without knowing where you're landing. That usually comes from people who are very performative, like they just want to be the funniest person or they need to get attention or they work too hard for it. When you're poised for the fun, you can shift gears better from this position. You'll know how to be more elastic, and you're just a more pleasant person to be around when you're neutral. Jump too far ahead, that's anxiety. Get too present, that's too self aware. You need to be in a position that's ready to have some fun. All right, so quick question on to you. Are you funny when you're relaxed, but when the pressure shows up, it's gone? Did someone get offended? Do you remember when someone got angry or someone got rude while you were trying to have some fun and then you got stiff, quiet, and you started overthinking? That means you lost your sense of humor by an outside situation. It means tensions showed up and pushed it all away. This happens to smart, capable, and chill people just like us. Happens all the time. Not because we're bad socially, but because pressure messes with how we respond in the moment. And that's the real problem we're getting at here. So the video is to show you the shift. You don't need to be funnier. You just need to relax into the funny. Humor works when you stay loose. That means switching gears instead of flooring it or stalling it, staying flexible instead of getting stiff, and giving yourself a moment before you jump in. Funny people aren't faster or smarter than any of us. They just don't get in their own way. Once you understand how this works, playfulness stops feeling like a random event and it starts showing up naturally. If this sounds all too familiar to you and you want to get better at staying playful under pressure without forcing it or acting like someone you're not, that's exactly what I help people do. I break this down in a simple, practical way, but if you ever want to customize it for your particular lifestyle and how your sense of humor works in order for you to stay sharp, relaxed, and yourself when it actually matters, the next step is visit mannygaravito.com, take a look, and see if it clicks. And if it does, give it a click, sign up for one-on-one comedy coaching. So there you have it. 3 simple concepts on how to understand where your sense of humor goes when that pressure goes up. Whenever you find these tense moments coming up in your life, if they're trivial, use it as practice to still use your sense of humor while it's happening. If you're a funny guy, funny girl, you know these moments don't last forever. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Let the people know I exist. Also, check out my other YouTube videos. And if you're interested in one-on-one comedy coaching, make sure you check out mannygaravito.com. I will see you on the next video.